Top 5 Mondays. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favourite James Bond films. Before I get into that, please go check out last week's top 5, which was my top 5 favourite Star Wars moments. I've made quite a few videos on it now, and honestly I'm still a bit disappointed in how no one really watched that. It was understandable, I couldn't put it on YouTube. So go check out those videos. They're on my channel, and they have links to the full proper video. And I'd still like to hear people's thoughts on that, because it's still one of my favourite videos I've ever made. I thought it was really cool. But then again, it's just cool to use clips from Star Wars, I guess. Anyway, moving on. James Bond. This was suggested by, I've forgotten again, so I'll put the name down here. I think I'll just do that every time, put the name down of who suggested the top 5 James Bond idea. And yeah, I figured I'd do this. I recently watched the documentary Everything or Nothing, the full story of James Bond or something like that. It was a really great documentary about the history of James Bond, both in film and the author Ian Fleming. So I thought it'd be cool to do my top 5 James Bond films. I recently watched all of the James Bond films, I think about a year ago. That was when me and Ryan Jackway started becoming really good friends, so I feel like I'm fully equipped to judge after having seen all the James Bond films, and I'd seen most of them before anyway, so here goes, bearing in mind that I've actually kind of tailored this list a little bit to make it be one from every James Bond, so I'll talk about that a bit more at the end, but let's get right into it. 5. License to Kill. This was a film in which Timothy Dalton had starred for the second time as James Bond, and you know, the Welshman didn't really do too well as James Bond. A lot of people didn't like the way that he acted as James Bond, and I can see why. It was definitely kind of a very sharp difference from Roger Moore's incarnation, which had been a mainstay for many years. In fact, the longest run that any James Bond has had on the big screen. So I can understand that, and The Living Daylights certainly wasn't that great, but I loved License to Kill because for the first time we really see a movie in which James Bond has an emotional drive. He really was invested in what he was doing. It wasn't just for the job. He went rogue, he went off on his own, and I loved that about it. And I think Timothy Dalton is underrated. I do enjoy him as James Bond, but the story in particular was great, and it's a bit more violent than the other Bond films. I guess that was some of the criticism as well. You know, you got Benicio del Toro, and it's just a really dark Bond film that delivered, I think. And again, I just thought that, except for the ending of a James Bond film I'm actually going to talk about in this video, we hadn't really seen that much emotional kind of feeling from Bond. You know, it was very closed off, you know, womanizing, that kind of thing. But he really cared about what he was doing in License to Kill, and that's why it's on this list. 4. Goldfinger. Yes, you probably are shaking your heads in disbelief, but you know, it's a great film, and I certainly love Sean Connery, and this is my favourite Connery Bond film. I think, you know, Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, the first 3 Bond films are all great. From Russia with Love is usually people's favourites, and Goldfinger is definitely up there, but the reason I like Goldfinger is, you know, Dr. No is pretty simple, you know, even though it was great. From Russia with Love, still kind of simplistic. I loved all the train scenes on that film. But Goldfinger was the first time where they really went a bit more big with Bond films, and it really showed. And I just love everything about Goldfinger, the Goldfinger himself, and the Bond women. We get to see a more strong kind of woman in the film, and I just loved everything about the Fort Knox stuff at the end. Was brilliant. Goldfinger to me is probably the best Connery film. I also really like You Only Live Twice, the one in Japan. I love that one, even though it's not very good. But yeah, for me Goldfinger is great, and the reason that Sean Connery isn't higher in this, I do respect his Bond, I love his Bond, in fact, but for me the other 3 films are better and more enjoyable to me, even though many people see Sean Connery as the definitive James Bond. 3. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, starring George Lazenby, the Australian actor who, if you don't know the story of how he became James Bond, by the way, back in the late 60s, you really should look that up, because it's just hilarious. The fact that he had no acting experience and he just thought he'd just turn up at the office and say, I'm James Bond, I'm going to be in the next film. It's just crazy, and the fact that he got away with it. It's nuts, and people can criticise him a lot, and I can understand that. I can you know, relate to that, because he isn't the best in this film, but I do enjoy him. You know, they really wanted him to be a carbon copy of Sean Connery at that point. They were afraid of breaking the mold or doing anything different with the character, which again is fair enough. It was untested waters at this point. But I really love the setting of the film. The mountainous, snowy landscape. The music is great, you know, and the idea of just being in this kind of this mountain, on top of a mountain, in this huge building with all these women. It's kind of like a you know, it's like living out a fantasy, I guess you could say. And I just enjoyed the espionage aspects of the film, and the fact that Bond kind of finally gets, well, not finally, but you know, he for the first time actually kind of got married and stayed with a woman. Of course, we know how that ended at the end of the film, but I don't know. I enjoyed George Lazenby. I enjoyed the way he portrayed Bond. What can I say? I mean, I can't really, you know, defend myself other than I really enjoyed the way he did it, and I thought he was a good James Bond, and I thought this was one of the best James Bond films. Like, it's underrated, and I really enjoyed it. We had a great Blofeld in this film as well. It's just overall, for me, one of the best ones, and I think it's getting more love nowadays, you know, after the fact. But certainly, I don't think they were that happy with it when it came out. But for me, you know, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, brilliant film. 2. The Spy Who Loved Me. Yes, Roger Moore, who was always my favourite Bond growing up as a kid. I loved Roger Moore. You know, Moonraker, stuff like that. Live and Let Die, and quite a few other ones I've forgotten the names of now. Well, I haven't forgotten the names of, but I've forgotten which ones I actually watched when I was a kid. But it was a lot of a lot of Roger Moore movies. And this one I had never seen when I was a kid, and it's the best one. It's the best Roger Moore film for me, without a doubt. We got a great Bond girl in this. I thought she was brilliant, and the fact that she's an agent as well, and she's not just there for fodder for Bond. She's there to be his equal, and she's there to join in on the whole adventure, and she's there to kind of add a bit more tension to James Bond. I think this was really when Roger Moore's Bond started getting a bit more depth and a bit more interesting. And I still love Roger Moore, you know, he's very cheesy, but that was him, you know, that was his version of Bond, and you got to love him for that. And but this one is just brilliant. They really pushed the boat out on this. I think this was the first one they did without Harry Saltzman as the producer, so, you know, Cubby Broccoli was really kind of trying to make a statement with this film. They had a huge sequence in this massive submarine that was brilliant. You know, they went to Egypt, oh, that was brilliant as well. You know, they got the classic opening, you know, where he skis off the edge of this mountain, and then pops up with a Union Jack flag. I mean, it's brilliant. In fact, I think this was it was the one that Alan Partridge did. Nobody does it better. Ooh, but a nipple. if you're British, you'll get that. But it was just glang, glang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang, glang-a-lang. Alan Partridge is amazing. You should YouTube that. It's brilliant. I think this is the one, yeah, because it's the one with the skiing at the beginning. And then there's this huge kind of almost over-the-top ending with the villain there and everything. And of course, again, the classic Lotus. The Lotus Esprit, you know, the car that kind of went underwater and stuff. I thought that was brilliant, and there's just so much in this film, and there's a lot of great action. And again, really, it's mainly the Bond girl in this. I've forgotten her name, but you know, there's so many movies I can never remember them all. But she was great in this, and how her relationship developed with Bond in this film was great, and that's why I think it's the best Roger Moore film and my second favourite Bond film. 1. Yep, I saved the best till last. For me, it's Casino Royale. Casino Royale starring Daniel Craig, his first outing as James Bond, and I thought it was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. It took me a while to get around to watching it, you know, but when I did, I thought it was great, and every time I've watched it since then, I've thought it was even better. I forget how good it is every time. The writing is brilliant. Daniel Craig is fantastic as Bond. And it's interesting how Bond has taken the kind of the way it's gone over the years. You know, it started out very kind of you know, gritty and stuff, I guess you could say, and then it kind of got a bit sillier towards the end of Connery's run, and then Roger Moore started out, and then the Roger Moore films started getting even more sillier and campier and just over the top and ridiculous, like Moonraker, you know, and then they took it too seriously with the Dalton films. They brought it back to a good level with Brosnan when he came in the mid-90s, and then the Brosnan films started to really lag and get really ridiculous as well, particularly the last one, the Die Another Day, I mean. Oh, so ridiculous and over the top. And this one was a perfect balance of everything, I think. I felt it was a perfect incarnation of Bond for the era, for the time that it was released in the middle of the 2000s, and has really kind of formed what is now, what many people think is a definitive Bond, you know. It's hard to kind of look back on 50 years of history and say that the newest version is the best, but for me, Casino Royale is the best film. Skyfall very close behind it. If I was going to do a true top 5, Skyfall would be in there, but I wanted to do one from every Bond, and I do think that the 5 films I talked about are all fantastic. But Quantum of Solace wouldn't be anywhere near that list, but Skyfall would. Skyfall's a joy, but Casino Royale, it just, everything about it is great. You know, you've got a great kind of villain in it. I forget his name, but you know the guy I'm talking about. And just Eva Green as the Bond girl. Eva Green is just so ridiculously hot, so she works in that aspect, but she's also a great actress, so it works well in their chemistry. Daniel Craig was fantastic. Yeah, I just thought it was just really well written. There wasn't really like a big pomp and circumstance about the film. I mean, there's some big action scenes and stuff, but it mostly takes place at this, you know, the poker game. That's like the main part of the film, and it's, you know, it's a lot of, you know, a lot of film to take place in one location where there's not too much action happening, but they really made it work. And I love the relationship that Eva Green and Daniel Craig had in the film. So for me, it's probably the best film out of all of them. But again, some people have said that they don't even think it's really James Bond because of how, you know, it is too modern and stuff. I mean, I've only seen a few people say that, but, you know, for me, it's the best one. It really is the best one. Love the theme as well, the opening theme. But again, Skyfall came very, very close. And I guess if you ask me after I just watched Skyfall, I'd probably say that was the best one. But you know, when I really think about it, Casino Royale is the one for me. So there it is, my top 5. And again, just to elaborate a bit more, you know, I want to pick one Bond for every of these picks, I guess you could say. Pierce Brosnan was close. I really love GoldenEye, you know, but that's about it really. Oh, my phone's ringing. I'll continue this in a second. So thank you for watching. As always, leave me a comment. Let me know what your top 5 favourite James Bond films are, or just your favourites in general. And feel free to leave suggestions for future top 5 videos. Thank you for watching.
He says he's really cool, but I think he's a tool. Even though I'm sure he's a quite nice guy, really. He's a quite nice guy, really.